This is a lovely venue. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Angela McArdle. I am the former chair of the National Libertarian Party. I want to talk to you about something that made me really happy and something that is still really stressing me out, which is Operation Choke Point 2.0 and how it just won't die. I need your help to kill it. It's got to go back in its grave. It's undead. So let's start on a happier note, though. Early November of 2023, early in the morning, I was just like sitting in my bedroom. I had just woken up, and Rick Grinnell calls me, or he texted me. It's 2023. And he's like, oh, hi, this is Rick Grinnell, former acting director of national intelligence. I got your number from a mutual friend, which is like, oh, okay. And he's like, you're the chair of the National Libertarian Party. I was just curious, like, if maybe we could chat to see what libertarians think about President Trump. Now, President Trump was not the president at that time, you know. So I was like, sure, I can talk in a little bit. I had coffee first because I thought that might like help me be composed, and took a moment and collected myself and called him back. And you know, he's like, well, you know, I'm a friend of President Trump's. We really want to know, you know, what do libertarians think about him? So I was very diplomatic. And I said, well, we really love that he has started no new wars. This is 2023. Please bear with me. Please be gentle. You know, we're not like real crazy about the drone strikes on General Soleimani. You know, like there's some people who are, you know, like they get a little grouchy about that part. But also, you know, we're very sympathetic. We're very sympathetic because of the weaponization of the justice system against him. We don't like that. And we want, you know, we hope that he wins on that. And I think Rick really liked that. And he was like, well, let's meet and talk about it a little bit more in person because he really wants to get the libertarian vote. And I was like, okay. So Rick Grinnell flew out to meet me just a couple weeks after that in person. And so we met at just some little hole-in-the-wall restaurant pretty close to my house. So we had a good talk. My husband and baby was there. He's a toddler running around now in an orange shirt. And hi, sweetie. And we had a really good talk. And we were just talking about the drug war, Bitcoin, you know, free trade, all these things, right? And he's like, okay, President Trump is going to call you now. So I just like passed my 6-month-old baby to Rick Grinnell, who's like bouncing him. And President Trump called me, you know, on Rick's phone, and Rick passed the phone and he's like, oh, hi, Angela McArdle, you know. He was very chatty and he was very sweet and grandfatherly and friendly, you know. And then he's like, you know, I read a lot of things about you on the internet. You know, I was like, oh, and then he's like, yeah, you make some heads explode. It's really funny. And then he, you know, he's like, how do I get the vote? I got to get the vote. You're not going to win. You're going to get 5%. Jo Jorgensen, she cost me the election. So I was like, oh, fascinating. You know, well, I'm the chair of a competing political party. I don't think I can endorse you. Like, that's just literally not how it works. But I can tell you how to get the vote. And he's like, yes, let's keep talking. So a couple of weeks later, we flew down to Mar-a-Lago. They were very gracious. They got me a babysitter, you know. My toddler's like running around the crystal ballroom. I'm just like, oh, geez. And we sat down and he asks my husband, do you smoke marijuana? It was just like the wildest thing, you know, and he's back there. You can ask him what he said. It was very, very diplomatic, you know, but he was sweet. He was very fun to talk to. He does eat his steak well done. In fact, he almost sent mine back because it was rare. And Rick was like, President Trump, she ordered it that way. Oh, I'm sorry. You know, you're probably healthier than I am. So he let me eat my rare steak. And we got down to brass tacks finally at the end after talking about fentanyl, like maybe don't put people to death who are drug dealers. I don't know, you know, things like that. And he's like, how do I get the vote? What do I do? I want to speak at your convention. And I'm thinking, well, this is going to be political suicide for me in my little like autistic fish tank. So I had kind of decided beforehand what I was going to ask. And I think the only person I had talked to about this besides my husband was Michael Malice, if any of you know who that is. Because Rick had told me in advance, he's like, the president is a deal maker. He's not a regular politician. You make a deal with him. Make the biggest ask you can. And he'll work with you. He'll figure something out. So I'm thinking, like, what do libertarians want? Well, they want to end the Fed. But the president can't do that. So what can I actually ask? Like, that he can do on his own. It's not going to get screwed up. I'm not going to get crucified for it. And I was like, I got to ask him to free Ross Ulbricht. And Michael Malice was like, yeah, you have to do that. So I did not run any of this by Lynn or Ross. I was just like doing my thing, out in the wild. So he asked me, like, I want to speak at your convention. How do I get the vote? And I said, I think if you were to walk out on stage and say that you're going to free Ross Ulbricht at our convention, like, yeah, you can come. I can make it happen. And I think what will happen when you do that is everyone will scream. They will go insane. They will all vote for you. And the Bitcoiners, they will all vote for you too, and they'll give you their money. And he went, who's Ross Ulbricht? I'll do it. I'll free him. I'll walk out on stage and I'll say, free Ross Ulbricht, mic drop. And it was like, I had been sweating bullets. I was stressed. I was making this deal without, I want to tell Lynn. I can't tell. And it was like, it was that easy. It was that easy. And I don't know how to tell you, but just in this moment, it was like, I don't know, like God, like just hit me with an invisible lightning bolt and was like, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. And he did.
BitBlockBoom started because we were outsiders and we needed a place that felt like home. Stockyards were always a place for people who didn't fit in. Let's go take a look at the cow town. Put on your hat. Let's go. Stockyards weren't just a cattle town. It was a place for cattlemen, traders, outlaws, and gamblers, people that were building something new. And that sounded familiar. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid were known to spend time here, and Bonnie and Clyde stayed right here in the Stockyard Hotel. Hotels were great, but they're too normal, and Bitcoin is anything but normal. So we moved BitBlockBoom to a place with some edge and some history. They still run Longhorn steer down this street every day, just like they did 100 years ago. And BitBlockBoom, well, it's just a few steps away. This is Mule Alley. This is where relationships are made. Bars, restaurants, rodeos, hangouts. Mule Alley is the place to come when the BitBlockBoom day is done. BitBlockBoom was built for people who didn't have a home, and the same thing applies to the Stockyards. Seems like we finally found a home. See you at the Stockyards.
So I worked with his team, for months leading up to make sure that this was happening. And I know that he reached out to probably Roger Stone and David Bailey and a handful of other people. And, they all were like, yeah, do that. That's going to work. That's going to work for you. I think Vivek also. So it was definitely, a team effort. He walks out on stage at the Libertarian National Convention. If any of you saw that, and the Libertarian delegates are just behaving like they normally do, which is like a pack of rabid dogs, like squirrels, like, something rabid. And they're just booing, and Rick Grinnell and I are just like sitting backstage, like having like the worst moment of our lives. Senator Mike Lee was backstage laughing hysterically. He thought the whole thing was really funny and amazing. So little thing on Mike Lee, he's got a sick, twisted sense of humor. But once he said, if you vote for me, I will free Ross Ulbricht, like the roof just blew off of that building, right? It was like the vibe just boom flipped. And you guys saw him repeat it at the Bitcoin conference. He did it at the Bitcoin conference too, but he went further at the Bitcoin conference. He said he was going to fire Gary Gensler, which he did. Beautiful. But then didn't he say he was going to end Operation Choke Point 2.0? Oh, so we're not there yet. Like, we've had this incredible high, which is really great. Ross Ulbricht is free. I've been in contact with him. He's kind of keeping to himself, doing a little healing, but he's doing well. He and his wife both. And now we've got this problem, Todd Blanche wrote this memo instructing the DOJ to end Biden's Operation Choke Point 2.0, which is essentially the Biden administration's plan to just ruin cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, cut them off from banking, debank them, throw them in prison, delegitimize it every possible way that they could. So, we get a new administration. People at the top say, end it. Everybody's like, oh, this is so exciting. This is months ago, a year ago. We get memos in, right? I'm running around, meeting all these people. I'm getting their memos, taking their memo to the DOJ, pardon attorney's office, wonderful people. And things are just not happening. And it's because the DOJ is full of a bunch of people who are fully radicalized against all of you. And this is their holy jihad. And they're like, we will continue Operation Choke Point 2.0. You will have to fire all of us. And there's over 100,000 employees in the DOJ. It's a really difficult task. So, where does that really leave us? It's not over. And we have other Bitcoiners in prison still. And, let's run through them. Roman Sterlingov. Anybody familiar with him? He's been in prison for over 6 years. Allegedly, the creator of Bitcoin Fog, which he didn't even create, by the way. And he's still got many years left to rot in prison. He's basically like Bitcoin Mr. Rogers. He's a sweet, sweet person. He needs to get out of prison. Who else? Roman Storm, technically Ethereum, don't shoot me. The creator of Tornado Cash, because the prosecutor in that case, they're going to retry him right now because this amoral person hates financial privacy tools that much. It's going to cost him at least $400,000 to go through trial again. The man has been squeezed and bled dry of everything he's got. I think it's cost him over $10 million, this whole miserable process. Ian Freeman. I don't know if everybody's familiar with Ian Freeman. He is an OG libertarian from New Hampshire, a free stater. He had Bitcoin, he had a couple of Bitcoin ATMs, more than one, but not a lot. And the feds went after him for having an unlicensed Bitcoin ATM when at the time that was not the legal requirement. And he's got 8 years in prison. Most of these men had girlfriends or wives. It's just life ruining. They went after him essentially for being annoying. They're like, oh, you're annoying. You're a thorn in our side. You're trying to teach people how to sidestep fiat. We're going to throw you in prison and make you an example of. And that happened like very soon. The whole trial and everything, they busted through the man's front door with a Bearcat, like SWAT stuff. It was like very shortly after Biden was sworn into office. It's not a coincidence. And then the last ones, there's over 60 people who've contacted me, but the 5 that I'm telling you about, and I believe there are 2 tables back there if you want to read more about Sterlingov and the Samurai Wallet defendants. The 5 that I'm telling you about are very solid. Fully vetted by me, spoken with all of their attorneys, their friends and family, their loved ones, Keone's wife here. The last ones are the Samurai Wallet defendants. Keone Rodriguez and Bill Hill. Financial privacy tools. I really thought that we were going to get pardons on Christmas Day, and it was pretty crushing when it didn't happen. These men, Keone had to report in. There's a video, you can see him walking into prison a few days before Christmas. It's just brutal. And these guys are developers. Like, none of these people scammed anyone. They're not doing like crazy foreign financial transactions. It's so basic. It's just software. All of them have pardon applications in. I got a memo straight to POTUS very recently, straight to the top. But here's the problem. The Iran war, right-wing podcaster wars, immigration, fraud, some of these things are very legitimate, Everything is vying for number one. And we need our guys to be a number one priority too, because it's so easy. It doesn't take an act of Congress. It just takes a signature. And I need more people to make noise about it. I'm so grateful for the people who have signed petitions and are complaining on the internet. What I really need, more than anything, is I need industry leaders to put skin in the game. Put skin in the game, please. I've got like 2 more months that I can get on a plane to go to DC to crawl through broken glass and beg on my hands and knees to make this happen. And then I've got like, 6-week period at least where I can't fly. I need industry leaders to sign confidential letter to the president for his eyes only. I know you don't want to get, too political. That's what needs to happen. Everybody who helped to get Ross out, step up. These guys need to get out. And with all due respect, I love your Bitcoin Reserve, Clarity Act, and everything. But I don't want to be funding the Bitcoin Reserve with their money because they're innocent, and that's gross and wrong. And we've got to make sure that we have our priorities straight. Thank you. Now, don't get demoralized. Don't get disengaged. I think you all need to fully lean into your ability and your power to be a critical deciding voting bloc in the midterms. I know a lot of people are out, they're upset. They're like, I'm upset about Thomas Massie. I'm upset about this. I'm upset about that. All of your grievances, I understand, they're valid, but you have the power to save these men's lives, put their families back together. Let's all join together. Let's make it happen. Let's get pardons before the Bitcoin conference. I'm hosting an event for them in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Mises Bitcoin Bash, May 21st. I would love to have them free before then. So do everything you can, bully your industry friends, tell them to get involved, and let's get these guys free. Thank you.